preserved my youth. Not only did it capture my goals, it told me the truth.
Conversate for a few, cause it a few.
I let them know we missing you. The love is unconditional.
Wave your hands, what's the land if we family?
We got a world premiere right here, now get lost.
So off we go, let the trumpets blow. And hold on, because the driver of the mission is a pro.
What's up, everybody? You in tune to another episode of Conversate with Us. And remember, Conversate stands for communicate, converse, and relate. Make sure you go to our YouTube, click that bell icon so you can be notified of upcoming episodes. Go to our social media, go to our IG, and make sure you tell a friend about the show. So, AI, artificial intelligence, it's everywhere. Everybody is trying to figure out how they can use it. There's a lot of questions about artificial intelligence. And you know how we do. We make sure that we approach these topics to see how can they benefit the Black community. So in order to do that, I brought on two brothers who are much more intelligent than me to talk about this topic. Fellas, where you at?
Hey, what's up?
All right. So we got my brother, Gary Lovelace from the Lennon Institute for AI Literacy. How you doing, my man?
Hey, what's up, man?
All right. Max, DJ Money Max, Mad Max. What's up, man? How you doing, brother?
Not too much. I'm doing good. How's everybody doing?
It's all good. So let me ask y'all both, man. We'll start out both of y'all with this question. And I'll start off with Gary, man. How did you get into AI? You know, obviously you have your institute, so you're pretty deep into it, man. What about it intrigued you and made you want to get into AI?
Well, this always been a curious person, right? In terms of tech, I'm not necessarily a techie, but always have an interest in what's coming down the pike. Started hearing about ChatGPT, and my business partner, outside of the institute, we have we're doing some consulting as well. So my business partner, before we started the business, something that me and him used to just talk about every day, right? What's going on, what's coming up, and that's pretty much it. Watching YouTube videos and kind of self-teaching some of this stuff.
Yeah. And that's cool. That's cool that you got a business partner where y'all could build like that. A lot of us got homeboys and friends that we talk to. Sometimes the conversation is, make you feel good, but, y'all elevate it to the next level, man. So that's dope, bro. Right. Max, I know you've been using this for the years. Every time I talk to you, man, you blow my mind about, the things that you got going on, man. How'd you get into AI?
Well, I'm an electrical engineer by trade, by way of University of Minnesota. My second job out of college, was with Universal Computer Solutions Group. And we were one of the first small computer firms to use error correcting RAM in our systems. And error correcting RAM is basically the foundational memory and storage is the foundation of AI. So years go past. I'm also a trader, and so I've always had interest in quantitative trading and quant firms. So I've been doing programming in C++ and Python and R, dealing with AI for the past 32 years.
Okay.
I have experience with TensorFlow, which is one of the first large language models. Basically, is the foundation for most of your chat GPTs out here. A lot of people don't realize that Uber, 10 years ago, was part of that foundation with like TensorFlow, and Uber actually laid the foundation for a lot of the AI apps that you see out here now. A lot of people don't realize that, but yeah, that's basically it.
Man, I think, a lot of us really don't see how deep and beneficial AI can be. A lot of us are using AI like help me format this email, so that I can convey this message but still be professional. I think all of us are just like on the very surface level of using AI. And a lot of it is because, plenty of us have a healthy fear of artificial intelligence. I mean, I'm 48. You know what I'm saying? We all around the same age range. So we all done seen the Terminator and the Attack of the Robots and Telnet and all that stuff. So a lot of people, there's a fear about using artificial intelligence. And I think that that's backed up somewhat by some of the things that we see on the internet about artificial intelligence. I see, like the deep fake videos that are made. And what I've been noticing that a lot of them play upon the negative stereotypes of Black people. Talk about how you see the Black community benefiting from AI. And, once we get past those initial fears, I mean, because if we don't get on, now we're gonna be forever behind because technology grows exponentially. So if we're not on it now, we're gonna miss the whole boat. So, in y'all's opinion, man, how can we use AI to benefit the Black community?
Well, I'll start. One, it can give us some sort of economic leverage, right? In terms of small businesses, most small businesses are either aren't solopreneurs or one or two employees, and a lot of times small businesses can't grow because they don't have the bandwidth and the finances to scale, right? So in terms of AI, you can operate a smaller business or entrepreneur as a 3, 4, 5 person business, right? Creating agents to handle some of the functions that you can automate and give the entrepreneur, time to do what he does to make money, right? Career protection, right? At some point, a lot of these organizations, they're pumping a lot of money into AI, and we're not going to all necessarily lose our jobs to AI, but lose our jobs to somebody who understands AI, right? So why not be that person? That's another reason to get on the boat. Wealth building, and just in terms of civic power, being able to become, the access to the information, right, to become more informed and understanding, protecting against misinformation, things of that nature, being able to search.
Say it again. Say that last part again.
I said being able to do more research, things that are going on out here, being able to really dig in and do more research. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on a computer, have more access to information. I think it kind of levels the playing field with that as well.
Yeah, man. You brought up a lot of good topics, man. And so I'll start with one. I found I'm a Chat GPT user, right? And I have been to different seminars or whatever that talked about how you can leverage the different GPTs and the different prompts that you can use to make it to where it's a powerful tool so you can expand your small business, like you said, right? But I started noticing when I was drilling deeper into it, and I think they're called hallucinations
Yeah.
because I was watching the P. Diddy documentary, the one that Netflix put out. And there was some sort of topic that I was like, man, hold on, let me research this right here. So I typed in, I said, did P. Diddy, I said something about P. Diddy and Tupac. And it came up with this old elaborate story about how P. Diddy did all this different things with this drug dealer and whatever, whatever. And that was my era. I read all the Vibe magazine, the Source magazines, and everything. And so finally, I said, "Did you just lie to me?" And it said, "Good call out." What happened was blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Well, damn! Like if that's happening, what else am I? How can I have faith in the tool?"
Yeah.
You
I
see what
think
I'm saying?
I think a lot of times you'll get the hallucinations when you don't provide proper context, right? So if you just say, "Hey, what's up with P. Diddy?" then you might get back a whole bunch of hallucinations. But if you provide more information and more context and a more pointed question, you'll lessen the hallucinations. And then also you need to set up your chat or whatever large language model you use. You can give it instructions, right, against certain things. You can give instructions against giving you hallucinations. If you don't know the answer, don't make it up. You can instruct it. So there's ways to somewhat avoid some of the hallucinations.
Okay, bro, you got like a little feedback on your mic. Is your mic
Uh-oh.
next to something like your
No.
computer?
No, I'm just speaking right into the computer.
Okay. We're trying to figure out how we're going
Hmm.
to address that. Is there anything next to the computer?
No. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll see how I go. All right.
Okay.
So Max, Gary talked about AI and jobs. And that's always been something that's been major when you talk about employment, right? There's always a lot of talk about immigration and how immigration is going to impact employment, but I always said, like, one of the biggest things that's going to impact jobs is technology, it's automation. It's always been that way, right? You go to the grocery store and you used to have all these teenagers that was working as a cashier. That's the job I used to have coming up. And then I started noticing, okay, all these registers is all self-checkout, and they just got one person managing it. So how the kids gonna have a job? And when you look at the Black community, because this show's about the Black community, and you look at the Black community, you look like we already have, the higher unemployment rates. We're already behind when it comes to wealth, right? And youth unemployment for Black people has traditionally always been higher. How do you see AI impacting us in that way? And how can we circumvent that?
Well, there's this quote by Horace Mann that education is a great equalizer. I can say the same thing about AI and technology. AI and technology can be the great equalizer. And in my opinion, AI is going to benefit the creative. Just to build on what Mr. Lovelace said, yeah, AI can be used to leverage your workflow. You're not going to have as many large teams or large corporations. Um, in my opinion, AI is going to lead to the corporation of one individual. Like everything is going to be one to one. But you're going to have to be creative with it, and and you're going to have to use it. It's either what's on. There's this one quote I always say that you can either be one with progress or be a casualty of it. So that's just basically it.
Yeah.
So what GPTs, what chats are y'all using? I mean, I mentioned I use Chat GPT, man, but I hear of Grok, I hear of Claude. I don't know if there's any others. Are you all using one in particular? Are you using one? Or I think there's Perplexity. Are you using one for one specific thing? I know you talked about you're a trader. What do you find is best for someone who wants to get into it? And how are you using it to be successful? Which ones are you using?
Well, my interaction with the AI models come through the agentic IDEs or integrated development environments. So I use a program that's called Cursor, which incorporates all the AI large language models within Cursor. You can even add custom models within Cursor. You can have multiple AI models work at the same time, work in conjunction with each other, or work against each other. And to piggyback on what you said about hallucinations, I find that different AIs have different characteristics. Like for example, Grok and Gemini, being that Grok basically is using X in terms of the data that's being generated at X. And then on the flip side, Gemini is using search data as well as social media data to build this system versus Chat GPT is just being fed proprietary information. So certain AIs have different characteristics that may be better or may not be as good as others.
So often you do this, you way above my head, so I know it's going to be above some of our listeners' heads. So break down what agentic means, because I hear that all the time, but I don't really know what agentic means. I'm assuming it's like agency or you having an agent or whatever, but break it down to like for a 12-year-old if you can. Like agentic AI, what does that mean?
Well, basically, in the context of what that cursor unit I was talking about, basically having an agent aid in the decision making process or an agent complete the task that you set out for it to do. Like if I want an agent to write some code for me to trade, I can say, "Hey, I want you to write out a trading system for me with ABC rules and will execute X, Y, and Z." And the agent within ChatGPT or the IDE will execute the command that I give it. So it's just basically a worker or somebody that you just give instructions to, or a system that has workers in it to where you may not have to do as much as the work as you used to. Just leverage the agency.
And then, before I go to Gary, so you said cursor. Is that something that, like a regular schmegular dude like me can access? Because I think everybody, most people just think ChatGPT is a default. ChatGPT is like Google, right? It's just everybody said, well, just put it in the ChatGPT. How do you access this cursor? Because you know that is that something you got to be an electrical engineer or a professional to
No,
do?
no, Cursor is actually a downloadable program that you put on your system. And it's actually one of many. You have Cursor, you have Windsurf, um, Claude Code can be downloaded. Even the latest version of Chat GPT can be downloaded. Because now what these agents are doing, they're taking control of computer systems and building file structure. Versus last year, a couple of years ago, if you worked within Chat GPT, everything was on screen and you may had to copy and paste and put in some other thing. Now you can just say, hey, do such and such and such and such, and that thing will break down the file structure, put everything in this appropriate folders and everything.
Man, that's I'm not there yet, bro. I'm still on the maybe the second level, whatever, man. Gary, what you using, man? What do you use when it comes to AI?
So, I started out with Chat GPT and I still use it a lot. Use Gemini Pro. I Claude is use Claude. That's more good for analytical. And my business partner who's the one who does the coding and everything, he uses Claude Code. He uses Google Anti-Gravity. Um, also use Perplexity. That's kind of like a search engine on steroids. And I also use Notebook LM a lot, right? And so we talk about hallucinations. So, you know, with Notebook LM, you put your sources in there, right? So you put the sources that you want in there for them to pull information from. So a lot of times when I'm creating things, I'll grab the sources from Perplexity, right? Put them in a Notebook LM so you can control where your information comes from and kind of mitigate the hallucinations instead of a chat just pulling things from all over the place, whether it's true or not or whatever. You can kind of control the sources, and that cuts down on the hallucinations. And that's through Notebook LM, which is a Google product.
Okay. Okay. So would you say that for somebody that wants to really leverage AI, let's say a small business owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a small business owner. I actually am. Let's break it down so people have like examples. Like a big part of a big headache for small business owners is marketing, social media, everything else. And I know you can use AI to help you come up with a marketing plan, put everything together. If I were to talk to you guys, say you guys are, my consultants, which program would you feel would be the best to execute a marketing strategy? Would it be Chat, Grok, Gemini? Which ones would you guys use for that?
Max, you want to, because you were talking about the agentic, so I would
Yeah,
suggest build agents to, you figure out what your plan is, and then you will build agents to execute those tasks, social media manager,
Yeah.
marketing tasks, but I'll let Max go ahead.
So I guess before you answer, Max, is it more important? What's more important? Is it the AI system that you're using, or is it the prompts that you're putting in, or is it a combination of both?
combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
There's a program that's called N8N,
Spell
which
that
is
out again.
basically
Spell that out again, please.
N Nancy, Ocho Nancy, N8N.
Okay.
And it's basically an icon or avatar based um, program language where you basically bring these icons and put them on the screen and build out the agency that you want. And most of the people that I see work on marketing campaigns, um, I've seen NAN have the comparable success with putting those marketing campaigns out there. Everything from making the visuals to coming up with the campaign slogans and generating new um, campaigns over a specified period of time. So let's say if you want to do a 30-day campaign, having something totally different show up on the screen each day. NAN, and then just like what Mr. Lovelace said, just developing an agent to perform those tasks. What we're talking about can be done in all of these programs that we mentioned, but like I say, NAN is. I've seen the thing I like about it is, like I said, the icon pulling pictures down versus doing code and stuff of that nature. If I make sense.
Yeah. I'm sure we're gonna have to study, man. I know this gonna be I'm probably gonna take this video and then upload it into my AI and say break down what these brothers are saying like it's a 12-year-old. You know, so that's one of my favorite prompts. Like if there's something that I don't understand, I say
Right.
explain this to me like I'm a 10-year-old. And you know, I find that it gives me
Mhm.
a way to be able to understand, complex concepts that I just don't get because I ain't the brightest dude sometimes. But
Well,
go ahead. Was you about to say so,
I
Gary?
was gonna say, I was gonna tell you, so pretty much, the little I do know is pretty much self-taught, and YouTube University can be very valuable, right? In terms of just pulling up a YouTube, you want to learn something, pull up a YouTube video and it'll catch the algorithm, so you'll keep getting them.
Yeah.
But for me, it's been invaluable. I don't have a lot of experience in tech. I'm a insurance guy, but I'm telling you, YouTube, you'll learn a lot. So
Yeah, I've been a long time student of YouTube University. I just haven't got into the AI yet for that.
yeah.
So, there are some negatives to, artificial intelligence. I kind of hit upon the fake videos, the deep fakes, and some of the racism that we see. Another thing too, though, it takes a lot of processing power to be able to do this, right? The
Mhm.
GPUs. There's a lot of money to be made in the companies that produce these GPUs. I mean, we could probably have a long conversation about that. But these data centers, a lot of people are talking about how devastating they are to the environment, right? And the amount of electricity and water that they pull. Do you all see that being something that is going to be an impediment to the growth of artificial intelligence at all?
Hey, you guys, it's me, Dr. Tori. My book is officially out. And yes, it is time to talk about ACEs. You guys can find the books everywhere. However, I would encourage you guys to go to my website, bevictorious.com, and place your order today. Yes, it's time to talk about ACEs. Let's go, y'all.
Hi, I'm Marika Moore, and if you want to get all up in my business, you should check out my new book, Unsolicited Marriage Advice, where I provide an analysis of the best marriage advice that I've received over the past 16 years or so. So head on over to Amazon and buy it now.
That data centers is not a new phenomenon. They've been around forever. Um, it's just the data centers are in the news cycle right now,
Yeah.
and all the hype and things like that are some good, some bad. But like I said, data centers are here to stay. I believe there will be improvements in technology, like you're hearing about thorium reactors powering these units, separate water sources and stuff like that. So, um, I mean, it is what it is. You're gonna have them built and things like that. You're just gonna have to. I think we're just gonna have to speak up with the ethical side of it, like in terms of how it's gonna impact our communities. Like I'm not with what's going on in Memphis and things with like what we're hearing about Elon Musk data center in Memphis and stuff, how they spread pollution and stuff like that, just like the ones in Louisiana. But I think if we speak up as as a concerned population, as an educated population, we can keep a nice even balance and have this stuff work for us in the future in the right way.
And see, that's what I think the problem is, though, man. There's a lack of awareness by many in the community. I mean, you all are college educated brothers, y'all brilliant black men. I think there is a large section of the community that does not have the awareness. And by the time they find out, it's going to be too late, right? And we know that environmental racism is a very real thing.
Mhm.
And so when we look at, okay, the downsides to AI, with our people, man, sometimes they'll see that and they'll be like, man, I ain't messing with that stuff, man, or whatever. And then, we see that I know I talked about it several times, like the deep fake videos or whatever. That shit is scary, man, because I've seen people who have come up with their avatars or whatever. And I saw a lady, I think her name is Alicia Little. I saw her at InvestFest last year in Atlanta, and she was talking about all the different things that you could do with AI. And she was able to come up with her avatar that was her likeness,
Mhm.
that was talking for her, but then she could program it to speak in German, Korean, whatever. So she was like, it has opened up the amount of business that I can do exponentially because now the world is available. So, and I don't even have to know those languages. I could
Right.
just, put in my lecture, put in my notes, and boom, it's going to present to the people. So there's a lot of positives, but there's a lot of negatives too, man. So Gary, I know I threw a lot out there, man, but do you see, these negatives, impacting us and keeping us from growing with this AI at all?
So, one thing is you were talking about people not being informed, and I think part of it is, it's not necessarily a matter of education, but some people are just fear based, right? They start off with fear first instead of trying to learn. So they hear about AI and they're scared of it, and they're fearful, and it keeps you fear paralyzes, right? So it keeps you from learning about certain things and taking advantage of it. It's a tool, right? This is a tool like anything. Like a hammer can build a house or it can kill a man, right? So it depends on how you use that tool, right? And it's not going anywhere. So, I'll always have a saying, I'd rather be the hammer than the nail, right?
That's the old football terminology right there, boy.
So I thought I made it up. But anyway, so
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
but I'd rather be the hammer than the nail, right? So you choose who you want to be, right? If you want to remain living in fear and fearful of everything, fearful of new things, fearful of learning, then you'll remain the nail, right? If you want to embrace new things that are coming out, if you embrace knowledge, embrace learning new things, then you can become the hammer. It's your choice.
Man, you dropped some science right there, man. Back when I was a youngin and I was studying with the Muslim brothers, they said, anything that you could do something destructive with, you could do something constructive with as well.
Build and
So,
destroy. Build and
so
destroy. Number 8.
yeah,
Yep.
so that's
So,
that's it right there, man. That's it right there. So, a few more questions for y'all, man. A lot of people, Max, you talked about you using it to trade, artificial intelligence to trade. And there's a lot of companies that have invested a lot of money in AI. And I don't know the technicalities of it all, but a lot of people say, hey, listen, man, basically, folks are throwing money at this, and there's no way that they're ever going to get the return on investment just on how it's set up. If you're able to read the financial transactions, they say, man, a bubble is coming when it comes to artificial intelligence. We old enough, we saw the dot-com bubble, right? We saw the housing crash. In your opinion, do you see there being an AI bubble? And do you see it impacting people who have invested heavily in tech stocks in a negative way?
um,
Um,
Go ahead, Gary. Go
no,
ahead,
no,
Gary.
go ahead, Max, and then I'll come after that.
Okay.
well, I see it affecting people who don't have vision and who may have a short-term investment horizon. Yeah, it may affect them in a negative way if the bubble bursts. But when you look at the market, every new technology is going to have a bubble phase. Then it's
Yep.
going to pop. Then the end result is going to be higher than the bubble phase. Like, for example, the dot-com bubble popped when the Dow broke 10,000. The Dow's at 50,000 now. Look at all those companies that were part of that pop and look how large they are now. Look how large Google is. Um, the 2008 crisis, same thing. A lot of companies fell off of the cliff. Look at where they're at right now. They're higher than where they were back then. So if individuals are smart and they have a decent time horizon, they'll be all right regardless of what happens.
So basically, if you're about to retire next year and the bubble hit, you screwed. But if you got a little bit of time left, don't worry about it. Just keep on plugging, right?
Well, if you do dumb stuff with your money, you screw. Because even if you retired and you got to preserve money, there's still tools and avenues that you can use to preserve your money. But if an individual is basing their investment decisions on anything other than logic, then yeah, you're gonna be screwed.
You got to pull emotion out of it. You know what I'm saying? And what and it's not about what you think. You got to do it with knowledge. And just kind of going on a bubble. There was a .com bubble, but the internet didn't go away, right?
Right.
So it's going to be the same thing, right? Some companies are going to fail and some companies are going to prosper. I mean, that's what happens when all new technologies come aboard. You have everybody jumps in, and it's kind of the survival of the fittest. Some companies will go away, but then there's going to be companies that stick around and and thrive.
I want to say one more thing. Like I always talk about the tulip bubble that happened in the Dutch economy back in the 1700s. Even though there was a bubble of tulips, you still paying about $35 for a tulip bulb now. So just keep that in mind.
Bro, I'm laughing, dog, because every time I have you on the show, I feel like I got to do research, man. Because you talk about the tulip bubble, man. I'm gonna have to put that into, explain the tulip bubble to me like a 12-year-old. So we got a couple. We got, and that's meant to be a compliment, man. Not me dissing you at all, brother.
No problem. No problem.
We got a couple questions, man, from the audience. So I'm gonna put this out here and just want to get y'all's thoughts on it. So from Ronnie. What should we look for with AI collecting and adding to its knowledge of us? I purposely haven't played any of the games surrounding asking it to create a pic of you based on what it knows. I'm not that trusting. Does anyone else feel a certain way about it? Because, if you're on Facebook, I know you brothers from Facebook, everybody's been putting the information that's come up with this caricature that everybody's been posting on their page. And I'll be honest myself, I've been real skeptical about the type of information that I've uploaded. I just produced a documentary and people was like, well, upload some of your segments and they give you critique. I was like, nah, because I want to make sure that I own my IP. And I don't know if I upload this, where it's going to go or what have you. So what are y'all thoughts about that, uploading your information and having it being used against you? Because I use Chat GPT and I remember I asked it a question today because I had another venture that was put on my plate. And I just said, let me see what it says. And I was like, do you think that I have the bandwidth to do this? And you think it's a smart direction for me to go? And it broke down everything about my life. Well, based on you being a producer of a film, based on you doing this community service, blah, 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 blah. It has my whole rundown. And we don't know who has access to it. The law could have access to it or what have you. So that trepidation that people have about putting the information into artificial intelligence, is that founded in reality? Do you think people are blowing it out of proportion or what?
So, and this might sound a little naive, right? But they already have all that information anyway, right? We're walking around, it's telephone. You don't think the telephone is recording everything that you say?
Absolutely.
Right? So
Absolutely.
it's already out there, right? So when I approach it, and I still kind of careful about what I put into the large language models, but the more you put in, especially from an aspect of building a business, the more it gets to know about you, the better advice it can give you because it knows you, right? So I utilize it for that. But in terms of us thinking that privacy is gone, privacy's been going for decades, right? So if we're going to let that stop us from learning something, going back to the whole fear-based thing, but we got our phones with us all the time. They already know everything. They know more about us than we know about us. So,
bro, I even think that let me put on my tinfoil kufi. I even think that the phones, no, I'm not on no disco drugs. I even think they can even read your mind because I just came back from a long international trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And damn near 50, my back was hurting or whatever. And I was like, God damn, my back hurts. And the next thing you know, I pull up my phone and it was like, oh, put down this cushion when you have long 20-hour flights. And I was like, I just thought that in my head. How the hell they know that was something that I would want, man? So it's real out there. No, I'm not tripped out, y'all. But it did happen.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. But the whole thing of we don't want them to know this and not want them to know that, they already know it.
Yeah. And I tell people, I had a friend, I was like, you don't got clear at the airport? Because, I travel a lot. So I got, clear, TSA pre-check. They got your fingerprints and all that. She was like, nah, I don't want to get my retina. And I was like, there's cameras everywhere. They already got your shit. You might as well just go ahead and just, have the
convenience. Do the Face ID in the phone, right? You don't think they got your retina from that?
Yeah, there you go. What you think, Max?
Man, piggyback off what you're saying, I've posted in our conversate group plenty of times my GitHub repository, and I have a link within that repository that's called Dense Pose, which is an AI uh, bot within Facebook that takes all your photo information and things like that, and catalogs it, and puts it into like a GPS or like a data collection mode. So Dense Pose, uh, when you're looking at the camera on your phone or when you're interacting with Facebook, it's also taking a heat map of your body. So you mentioned that you had talked about or you thought about having back pains. Well, your brain heats up at certain parts
Wow.
to where dense pose AI can figure out what's going on within your mind and things, or basically guesstimate what's going on and catalog that information, and then feedback information that you may have interest in.
That's crazy, man.
That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Mhm.
I mean, you just gotta leave your phone in the other room, man. But my phone is in my hand because I'm using it for work all the
Right.
time. So it is what it is. When it comes to stuff like that, because it comes into ethics. Gary said it best: privacy is gone. And we talked about the stock market. We talked about AI companies, and I've talked
Mhm.
about it on my other show. Man, listen, like companies like Palantir and how they use artificial intelligence and for things that policing our communities, targeting other people that I won't mention because I don't want to be targeted. You know what I'm saying? But it's kind of like we already in there, man. So we got to find a way to make it, like you said, leverage it for us, man, so we can make progress. But go ahead. I'll say, so you got something on your mind.
I know you heard there's a case going on right now in New York where an individual asked ChatGPT on some advice on how to basically avoid a crime, and the prosecutors are using that information, got that information through discovery. So you're right. We have to use discretion in terms of what we feed AI and what we don't, because it can come back and haunt us.
Yeah.
And just like you mentioned, Palantir, Flock.
Yeah, see, I wasn't even aware of Flock. I'm gonna have to look that up too. So Stacy said, how many people know anything about how culturally biased AI models are? Can you speak
Well,
to that at all?
I know, especially a couple of years ago, as AI started getting on the radar of the general public, they were talking about cultural bias, and I'm assuming that in terms of when they were teaching, so when they're kind of feeding these models and teaching them, right, building the models, it's going to follow the bias of the people building it, right? So if we're not involved in the initial build out, right, it's gonna match the biases of the people who are building it, right? So we know that we probably weren't involved in the initial build out, so it's gonna follow that. I mean, that's you know that
Kind of is what it is.
that it's kind it kind of is what it is. Um, so when you say cultural bias, right? What do we expect out of it? Like, okay, so AI is culturally biased, and I'm not trying to be combative with it, but what does that mean? Like, what does it mean for it to be culturally biased, and how is it gonna affect us coming back? Like, I'm just curious because people say certain things, but like, let's narrow it down. I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm just trying to get into, okay, if it's culturally biased, what's the repercussions of that?
I think, we talked about Palantir, right? And we talked about, that algorithm, that system that they use, that are used by different law enforcement agencies, different governments, armed forces or whatever. I think that cultural bias can play a part in how it's used to target Black people. So I think that's probably not I can't read her mind or what have you. I don't have the dense post about what she got going on. But when I think about it, that's what I think about how like AI is used to not only potentially target us as Black people, but then to also play upon different negative stereotypes and different things to grow. Like it burns me all the way up, man. Just one of these things that I see on social media now, where you can input like your grandbaby or your grandpa's likeness, and it'll
Mhm.
have them crip walking. That was something on my timeline, and I was like, okay, so why you got to use a negative part of the Black culture, right? You got to use that negative crip walking because when we get down to it, it is right. It's LA gang culture. Why are you using that to promote this tool? Once again, something that's being built out the backs of Black people. Why don't you say, okay, like I'm gonna input grandma's face, and she's gonna be the Don Mafioso from the Italian community. If you talk to real Italians, they like, man, we don't want to see the Godfather. That's a negative part of our community. So to me, that's where that cultural bias comes in. But Max, what you think, bro?
Okay.
But go ahead, man.
I agree.
You have something else to say? Go ahead, bro.
Oh, just real quick, right? So in
Okay.
terms of bias, like this country, like bias is bias is so much a part of our everyday existence and just the woven into the fabric of this country. Like regardless of AI bias or whatever, like all these things that you talked about, that's here anyway, right? Just in terms of this whole system. So I agree, right? In terms of how it's fed, it's going to pick up the biases of the people who are teaching the models, but it's not like it's created that bias is being created out of a vacuum. That bias has been here for hundreds of years, and it's regardless of what you do with AI or how it's built or the algorithms, the bias is going to be here anyway. Not making an excuse for it, but let's not act like that bias is created in the vacuum.
I got you. Max?
I was going to say, and that's all the more importance for us to be
Use it.
involved in AI,
Yeah.
because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And that's just basically it with anything, especially AI, because in my opinion, we're still in the first phase of AI. We're still in the information age, but we're transitioning to the robotic age. AI is going to transition into the robotic age too. So if we don't get a handle on it now, what's going to happen when we start seeing physical robots that take care of certain tasks like law enforcement, teaching, um,
They already
or
got it with them little dogs, them little robot dogs that they
exactly.
using. And Elon, come to find out he was full of it, but he tried to, unleash his little robot or what have you. And so, and I don't, speaking of Elon, just my personal thing, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like, I don't trust his whole
He's
Tesla
an evil
and
genius.
automated
Yeah.
driving because they can control everything you do. It's like, it's a high class, I don't know about y'all, man, but I got family that the credit might not be that good, so you got to get a car from the pay the what they call it, the low budget car dealership. If you don't make your payment, they just shut your shit off. Elon, he got control over X, right? Say they look at your social media, you say something that they don't like, they cut your car off. So I mean, I know I'm contributing to the paranoia, but it's a
No,
real thing,
I
though.
agree. I mean, why do you think he overpaid for X? He paid 45 billion for X. It's for the data, right? It's strategy. He got satellites. He got Tesla, which is collecting data everywhere you go. He got X, which was collecting data for 15 years and still doing it. So his whole thing is data. So he has a whole
Yeah.
ecosystem.
And we people don't talk about it a lot. He got Neuralink too.
Yeah.
He got Neuralink too. So that's another thing. But I'm sorry to cut you out, Max. Go ahead, bro.
And then the factories that were used to manufacture the Model S are going to be used to manufacture the robots now.
Mm.
And you got robot companies. You even have one based here in Alpharetta that has a working model that you can purchase for 16,000. So you're going to start seeing these physical robots, upright robots, doing a lot of work within the next year.
And see, that's the thing that I think people are scared of because it ain't gonna be just like the Jetsons, where you got Rosie, the housekeeper, and somebody driving you and all that stuff, right? We look at it as okay, yeah, it could be nice and cute. Because I remember when they came out with them robot dogs, they were trying to make it, oh, it's cute, and I was like, nah, they're gonna be using that for black folks, and we've seen that they have used that. They use it here in Dallas where I live, targeting people. So, what's the next step? I'm a Star Wars fan. Eventually, I may not live to see it, but you got Clone Wars, and maybe I'm being paranoid, but I'm just putting it out there, man. There's a lot of fear that people got, whatever. So, one last thing, that the audience has a question for y'all, brothers. So Tana says, are our people aware of how many good blue collar jobs that are currently occupied by Black folks that are in danger of becoming obsolete? And mind you, many of these are jobs with excellent income and benefits that allow a second chance start for people who have done time. I mean, I know you kind of talked about it before, but what do you have to say about that?
So I think, honestly, I think most of the jobs that are at risk are the white collar jobs as opposed to the blue collar jobs. And they're saying, and they've been trying to push kids to go for some of the blue collar jobs because they're still going to be necessary. Where the knowledge based white collar jobs, a lot of them are going to suffer quickly because knowledge is a commodity now, right? With all these tools. So I think us in white collar jobs, I think we have more to worry about than a lot of the blue collar jobs.
Yeah, I know. I would agree with you. I do think though that there's some risk, and I hope not to see it. There's a lot of people who are in the trucking
Yeah.
industry.
Well, and I
And
work in the trucking industry, so yeah,
me too.
autonomous.
So they talking about going autonomous, which would scare the hell out of me. You got a 63-footer on the highway, and it's driven by a computer. I
But
don't know about how I feel about that.
but in terms of autonomous trucks, and so I sell insurance to the trucking industry, so I see the ugly side of it every day, right? In terms of the accidents and all that. And one of the rationales behind autonomous trucks, right? Now, the primary rationale is money, right? But then secondary, it removes human error from the driving, right? So if
And
you
you don't have to worry about your driver timing out or
yeah,
cheating on the logbook. You can
yeah,
just go all
exactly.
day, all night.
So you think about this cars in general, trucks, cars, whatever on the road, and then you start tallying up each year how many deaths are caused by drunk drivers. It's in the tens of thousands. How many deaths are caused by distracted driving? People falling asleep behind the wheel. There's people who can't drive, period, right? We're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, right? That's human error. Those are things that can be totally avoided based on human behavior, whether it's on purpose, you drink, or not, but it's human error. In terms of autonomous drivers, there are going to be mistakes, right? There's going to be glitches. But if you have 1,000 deaths a year based on glitches and 100,000 based on human errors that can be avoided, so
Right.
that's how some people think about it, because a lot of people do a lot of dumb things, unnecessary things, illegal things, and get behind the wheel of a car and put other people's lives at risk.
I haven't gotten one of the driverless vehicles yet. It's called Waymo.
Yeah,
They,
I've done
they're in
that.
Atlanta. I see them often when I'm in
San
Phoenix,
Francisco, Phoenix.
California, LA, San Francisco. Um, they're starting to bring them here to Dallas.
Okay.
I saw them testing them out, and I live in the city, so I
Yeah.
said, well, you know what? I'll try it on the city streets. City streets, you ain't going no faster than 40 miles per hour. I think I can hold up to a 40 mile per hour accident, but get on the freeway, I ain't doing that just yet.
Yeah. But think
What you got to
about
say about that? Go ahead, man. Finish the
real
thought.
quick, and then Matt. So think about how many times you got on the Uber or Lyft and you see who's driving it, and you like, how do you let this guy get behind the wheel of one of these cars? So
Yeah, I feel you on that. But with me, I got so much on my plate, man. As soon as I get in, either I'm returning the call or I'm working on something. To me,
yeah,
productivity. So obviously, this would help me, but there is that little bit of that trepidation too. So
yeah.
I feel you
But
on that.
that Max, you go ahead because I know you. I'm sure you got something to say about it.
Yeah. What you think is
All
going
right.
to impact the blue collar jobs, Max?
Well, shoot, you got lawnmowers now that's AI controlled. You got the Husqvarna unit that'll cut your lawn every other day. You have Skag and Wright Standard that have commercial units that are AI controlled that'll cut the lawn by itself. Um, like I say, even I have own a company that's called Lawn Fetish LLC, and next year we plan on incorporating robotics into our operations.
Man. Hey
Yeah.
man, Gary, I don't know. This brother's on another level, man. Like I said, I got to, hey, when y'all get done with this video, first of all, share it with 5 friends. And then upload it into your favorite AI so to have it break down all the knowledge that these two brothers have dropped, man. So, all right, well, Gary, man, the Linden Institute for AI Literacy. Tell us about what you got going on, man.
So Linden Institute kind of started out of, I have a business partner. We do some consulting with small businesses, and I have a good friend who's a teacher. She's been a teacher for 35 years, and we was having a conversation. She came back and told me about one of her students handed in a paper that he used Chat GPT. And she was like, she was totally against it and was mad at the student. And I was like, well, hold on for a second. I said, now let's think about it, right? It's a tool, right? And these kids are going to use it anyway, but you need to embrace it so you can kind of teach your students how to use these tools ethically and responsibly, right? Because they're here anyway. So you have to use them ethically and responsibly. So then we got together and said, hey, let's create a company, a nonprofit to provide, have those conversations that I have with her, the teachers, right? To get them to and look at it differently and not look at it in such an adversarial manner, but look at it as a tool and use it to help the kids learn, use it to and teach them how to use it ethically and responsibly. Parents, they have to buy in. And this is all about the kids, right? Because right now, we're educating kids for a world that's going to be long gone, right? So these kids need to learn how to use these tools, use it responsibly, ethically. And so you need the parents, the teachers, the kids, and just the community, right? Because our community, and we don't just cater to Black people, but we have a focus on our community, right? And somebody needs to get out there and kind of get our community to buy in, learn it. And it's just kind of a beginning. We're doing workshops to kind of whet that appetite, right? So you can start on your journey and continue, but it has to start somewhere, and that's why we created the company.
Where can people find out more information?
Website. The name of the company is the Linden Institute for AI Literacy. It's 3 founders, and just real quick, we named it Linden because we all grew up off of Linden Boulevard in Queens, right? So Linden Institute, it's all about community. Website, lindenaiinstitute.org. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Give me a call. I'll be willing to talk about it, but yeah, it's all about the community. It's all about the kids. It's all about the community. I saw something a couple of weeks ago, an article about AI adoption, and the U.S. is 24th in the world in AI adoption. And I'm like, how is the U.S. with all of this resources and money 24th in anything in the world, something so important? So if the U.S. is going to get smoked on AI adoption, the Black community, we definitely going to catch an L because we always get the short end of the stick. So,
hey, when America catches a cold, the Black community catches pneumonia.
Exactly.
That's what they always say, man. And back in the days on the Boulevard of Linden, Queens
That's
get the
right.
money. There you go, man. Well, Max, I know you got a thousand things going on, man. You know, I know you DJ, you do all kinds of different things, man. Tell people where they can find you and what you want to promote right now.
Like I said before, I don't know if I mentioned this before, I'm a retired engineer, but I'm still the owner of Lawn Fetish LLC, which you can go to lawnfetish.com and get your lawn services done in Ohio and Georgia. And I'm also the owner of Johnson Asset Group LLC, which is a holding company, which also purchases distressed assets. And you can check us out over there at johnsonassetgroup.com.
Okay. Well, brothers, man, I really appreciate y'all coming on, man, and dropping the knowledge. It's my hope that, people will take this and study it and use it to start, their path on artificial intelligence and AI. And so that, people our age will embrace it and not have that fear of artificial intelligence. And then also, speaking to the Institute, promoting it with your children as well. I remember coming up, if I snuck a calculator into school, I might get a whooping, man. I came up with corporal punishment. Is that now you got to use this brain, but as you got older, you realize, man, this is a tool for you to be able to use. Just you have to have the base knowledge, right? We talked about the prompts going in, the information you're putting in has to be just as good as the tool that you're using, right? And we have to guide our young people where they have these young, fresh minds to be on the forefront of this, so we aren't behind. Because Gary talked about it, and it's an important thing. It's something that was on my heart. I try to do things that I feel are going to be for the upliftment of the Black community. And I think this is something that is going to be at the forefront of that. And I always make sure that I get people on who are much more intelligent than me, who can articulate what our people need to know. So I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Make sure y'all go to their websites, go to their social media. Make sure you go follow them. Gary, you got something you want to say?
No, I'll just say thanks for the invite. Appreciate being
No
part of the
Thanks for
conversation.
coming on. Thanks for coming on, man. We'll have
Likewise,
y'all
thank
back. Yeah, we'll have y'all back talking about some different things. Make sure y'all go to our YouTube, Conversate with Us. Remember, Conversate stands for communicate, converse, and relate. Click that bell icon, share it with people, go to our Instagram, Conversate with Us, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.